On the day of our wedding, my fiancé was killed in a tragic car accident on his way to pick me up. Just like that, I became a widow, and the child growing inside me became fatherless before even entering this world. The trauma shattered me. I spiraled into a deep psychological breakdown, consumed by despair and plagued with thoughts of ending my life. However, everyone pleaded with me to hold on for the sake of the baby. On the day of the funeral, my husband's older brother, Ryan, and his wife returned from Africa to pay their respects. When I looked at him, his face almost identical to my husband's, I found myself slipping into confusion, again and again. But then, outside my mother-in-law's bedroom, I overheard a conversation that shook me to my core. "You really faked your death and ran off just to be with that foreign woman? Aileen is carrying your child. You staged this whole act just to bring that vixen home." After a long silence, his voice finally responded, soft but unmistakable. "Ivy is terminally ill. The doctors said she only has 6 months left at most. Once those 6 months are up, Aileen will have given birth by then, and everything will return to normal. We'll be one happy family again." It was in that moment the truth hit me. My husband hadn't died at all. This so-called brother-in-law was none other than my husband, Wendell, in disguise. I clenched my fists, fighting the trembling in my body as I sent a message to my brother, who works in a covert government agency overseas. "Brother, help me stage an accident. If Wendell can fake his death, so can I. Let's give him a taste of his own medicine." Even after sending the message, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Inside, their conversation continued. "Do you really think this is fair to Aileen? If it weren't for the baby, she would have followed you to the grave. She's like a ghost. She can't eat. She can't sleep. Even I feel heartbroken watching her like this." Wendell let out a deep sigh. "But Ivy only has 6 months. This is her last wish. I can't let her down. As for Aileen, I'll have the rest of my life to make it up to her. Don't worry, Mom." It felt like a giant hand had gripped my heart, squeezing until the pain reached every corner of my body. I could barely breathe. I staggered back to my room, collapsing to my knees just as my phone rang. It was my brother. "What's wrong, Aileen? What happened? Wasn't Wendell supposed to be dead?" I wanted to respond, but the moment I opened my mouth, tears fell uncontrollably. Yes. As far as the world knew, Wendell was dead. I understood my brother's confusion. Even I couldn't have imagined that my husband would fake his death, and all for another woman. Even though I couldn't speak, my brother seemed to pick up on my silence. After a pause, he spoke gently. "I'll send a plane the night after tomorrow. I'll take care of everything else." When the call ended, I stayed frozen in place, still clutching the phone. That's when a soft knock came at the door. Outside stood my so-called brother-in-law, Wendell, holding a glass of milk. "What's wrong, Aileen? Why are you sitting on the floor? Are you crying again? Are you missing Wendell?" Ever since his return in this disguise, he had been incredibly kind to me, acting the part of a grieving older brother-in-law, as if I really were his late younger brother's widow. Each time he showed concern, I felt dazed and lost. My mother-in-law chalked it up to grief. I quickly locked my phone and forced a smile. "I'm fine. Just a little stomach discomfort. I lost my balance, that's all." Wendell finally let out a breath of relief, placing the glass of warm milk to the side. He carefully helped me up from the floor. "This little one is already being stubborn," he said with a soft chuckle. "When he's born, his uncle is going to have a serious talk with him. Come on now, drink the milk I warmed up for you, and get some rest. Don't overthink things." If Wendell were watching from above, he wouldn't be at ease seeing you like this. The moment he mentioned that name, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I lifted my head, stared him straight in the eye, and asked, each word weighted with accusation, "Are you really not Wendell?" He froze for a second, then smiled gently and patted my head. "Don't be silly. How could I be Wendell? Now drink your milk and get some sleep. Tomorrow I'll go with you for the prenatal checkup. Discomfort during pregnancy is no small matter. This is the only bloodline Wendell left in this world. I have to make sure he arrives safely." I lowered my eyes, unable to bear the false concern in his gaze any longer. "Please leave. I'm tired and need to rest." When I heard the soft sound of the door closing, the tears I'd been holding back all night finally surged out. I first met Wendell at a freshman meetup in university. He fell in love with me at first sight and pursued me relentlessly. Naturally, we fell in love. 2 years after graduation, Wendell gave me an extravagant proposal. I still remember the fireworks that filled the sky, reflecting in his eyes. His gaze was even more captivating than the fireworks themselves. During the wedding planning, I discovered I was pregnant. At the time, Wendell looked at me with such anticipation. The baby came at the perfect time. He's here to celebrate Mom and Dad's marriage. Aileen, I'm the happiest man in the world. But to this day, I still don't understand why Wendell, who had cherished me for 6 years, chose to cheat, even going so far as to fake his death to avoid our wedding. The next morning, Wendell knocked on my door. Aileen, today's your checkup day. Have you gotten ready? But just as we were about to leave, Ivy's voice rang out from behind us. Ryan, I'm feeling a little unwell today. Can you stay home and keep me company? Upon hearing Ivy's voice, Wendell didn't even glance at me. He immediately rushed over to her. Did you forget to take your medicine again? If you're not feeling well, lie down in bed. Don't get up and move around. What if you faint? After saying this, Wendell turned around and gave me a quick look. Sorry, Aileen. Your sister-in-law is not feeling well. I might not be able to go with you to the hospital. Don't worry, the driver is waiting outside. He'll take you to the hospital safely. I've already arranged everything with the doctor. Just go straight there. I closed my eyes, trying to hold back the tears threatening to spill over. When I opened them again, I didn't miss the brief, smug expression that flashed across Ivy's face. Without saying a word, I nodded and turned, walking straight out the door. The sound of the door closing echoed in my ears. I instinctively cradled my belly as the tears finally spilled, falling hard and fast. The driver arrived promptly and took me to the hospital, where I underwent all the necessary tests under the doctor's instructions. Wendell had previously instructed the driver and doctor to keep an eye on me. If I didn't come to the hospital, he'd start asking questions. Sitting on a bench in the hospital, I looked down at the ultrasound report in my hands. In the black and white image, there was a tiny, peanut-sized circle. The doctor said that it was my baby, but I couldn't accept it. My child had an unfaithful father. I wiped away my tears harshly and booked an appointment at another hospital. This was the Fleming family's private hospital, and if I had surgery here, Wendell would definitely find out. I called the driver and told him I wanted to shop by myself, asking him to go back without me. I hid behind the hospital gate until the driver's car disappeared from my view, then walked out and hailed a cab to another hospital. Just before I entered the operating room, a video message arrived on my phone. The video was half an hour long, and in it, Wendell was completely out of control, a side of him I had never seen before. In the 6 years we'd been together, Wendell had always been gentle. Even in bed, he was always careful not to hurt me. It turned out he wasn't naturally composed, but simply that the one who could ignite his passion was never me. I torturously watched the video, wanting to see this unfamiliar side of Wendell. I didn't know how long I stared, but eventually, a nurse walked over to me. Miss Aileen, are you all right? It's time for you to enter the operating room. I hadn't even realized it, but as the video played, I was crying harder and harder. When the nurse spoke to me, I realized I was shaking all over, my hand trembling uncontrollably as I held the phone. And what was even more shameful, I discovered, was that I still loved Wendell, even now. He wasn't an object that could be discarded when broken, nor just a friend to be cut off when unhappy. He was a living, breathing person, my lover for 6 whole years, and my love for him had become an instinct deep in my bones. For 6 years, everyone said that Wendell loved me like his life, but how had I treated him? Hadn't I also devoted myself to him for these 6 years? It wasn't until this moment that I realized. How could I let go? I truly couldn't. Thinking about the fetal heartbeat I had heard during the checkup earlier, I wiped my tears fiercely. I took a deep breath and decided to give both my child and Wendell one last chance. Clenching my phone tightly, I dialed Wendell's number. Can you come over? I need to talk to you. Wendell's voice was strangely hoarse, as if he were holding something back. Aileen, I've still got something to do here. Let the driver take you home, and we can talk when you get back. A muffled grunt followed, and then the call ended, replaced by the mechanical beeping of the phone. We were both adults, so I knew exactly what Wendell was doing on the other end of the line. After a moment of shock, I looked up at the nurse waiting beside me. It's fine now. I'm ready for the surgery. By the time I got home after the surgery, it was already dark. As soon as I stepped through the door, Wendell rushed over to greet me. The driver said you went shopping after your checkup. Why didn't you bring anything back? Didn't you find anything you liked? But halfway through his sentence, he noticed my swollen, red eyes. What happened, Aileen? Why are your eyes so swollen? Have you been crying? Did you think about Wendell again during your checkup today? It's all right. The baby in your belly is Wendell's child. It's a kind of connection. By the way, didn't you say you wanted to talk to me about something? I studied Wendell's features carefully. He was still as handsome as before, his eyes full of my reflection. Just like in the video Ivy had sent this afternoon. I lowered my gaze, avoiding his eyes. It's nothing. I just wanted to ask if there's anything you wanted me to bring back. Wendell's shoulders seemed to relax, as if a huge weight pressing down on him was lifted. Then you should go rest. You've had a long day and must be tired. I nodded without responding further to Wendell and headed straight to my room. I must have been truly exhausted. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I fell asleep. In a daze, it felt as though I saw the 18-year-old Wendell again. The young man stood before me, blushing as he confessed his feelings. Aileen, I really like you. Would you be my girlfriend? Don't worry. I will always be good to you. I couldn't tell if it was the sunset that day, so intoxicating, or the sincerity in his eyes that moved me. That day, for reasons I couldn't explain, I nodded in response. When I woke up, it was already daylight. Since hearing about Wendell's death, I hadn't slept this soundly in days. I was still sitting on the bed in a daze when the door to my room opened, and Ivy walked in. She looked at me smugly and said, "Do you know why I sent you that video yesterday? Did you really think he was Wendell's brother and that I'm your so-called sister-in-law?" I didn't answer her, but I couldn't help but laugh bitterly at my own foolishness. When I first heard about Wendell's accident, I was severely shocked. And because of the pregnancy, I had fainted from the physical strain. When I woke up, my mother-in-law told me that Wendell's body had already been cremated. They even used my pregnancy as an excuse not to let me attend his funeral. Everything pointed to the fact that Wendell's death was suspicious. But for those 6 years, Wendell and I were regarded as the model couple. He had always treated me so well that I never once suspected he might lie to me, especially not to avoid marriage. Then suddenly, his brother who had been working abroad appeared, bringing back a foreign wife. Although I was often in a haze, I never thought of the possibility that Wendell had faked his death. It wasn't until I overheard a conversation between Wendell and my mother-in-law that I realized they had told me a huge lie. Seeing my lack of reaction, Ivy smiled knowingly. Women understand women better, don't they? Yesterday, when you were about to go for your check-up, I sensed something was off with you. Sure enough, you already know the truth. I'm sure you're dying to know why Wendell cheated, why he even faked his death to be with me. Haha, do you know what he said about you behind your back? He said you were boring, that after being with you for so long, even making love felt like a routine. But with me, it's different. I can always make him feel so good, you know? He said I'm his most beautiful pearl, and that foreign women have more charm. My heart began to race, and a fiery anger swelled inside me, threatening to explode. Unable to hold it in any longer, I swung my hand sharply at Ivy. Clutching her face, Ivy was about to yell, but suddenly, Wendell's shocked voice cut through the tension. Aileen, what are you doing? The moment I heard his voice, the smug expression on Ivy's face instantly turned into one of grievance. Sister-in-law, I just thought you seemed upset lately, so I came to comfort you. How could you hit me? I know you're feeling bad because of Wendell's death, but you can't just lash out. Wendell stared at Ivy's cheek and then turned to shout at me. Aileen, she's your sister-in-law. I didn't answer Wendell. Instead, I lifted my head and stared directly into his eyes. I'll ask you again. Is she really my sister-in-law? Wendell froze, seemingly startled by the intensity in my gaze. But at that moment, Ivy grabbed his hand and pulled him away. Ryan, please come back to the room with me. I'm feeling unwell. Wendell seemed to want to say something, but his lips trembled for a while before he finally helped Ivy away. I lowered my gaze, staring blankly for a long while until a message from my brother popped up on my phone. The plane has landed. Taking a deep breath, I got up and placed the letter I had prepared earlier into the drawer of the bedside table. I wanted Wendell to find this letter after he heard of my death. I wanted him to open his eyes and see clearly the love I had for him, a love strong enough to follow him through life and death. I wanted him to live each day in guilt, to feel that his life was worse than death. After doing this, I didn't pack anything else. I just took my ID and bank card, then walked out of the door. However, I happened to run into Wendell, who was coming out of Ivy's room. Upon seeing me, his expression hesitated for a moment, but he still spoke softly. I'm sorry, Aileen. I got a little worked up just now. I didn't mean to yell at you, but you shouldn't treat your sister-in-law like that. I couldn't be bothered to listen, so I raised my hand, cutting him off. I want to go out for a walk. Brother-in-law, you should just stay home and keep my sister-in-law company. I deliberately emphasized the words brother-in-law and sister-in-law. But Wendell didn't seem to notice the shift in my tone. Instead, he seemed to let out a sigh of relief. Going out for a walk is good. Get some fresh air. It'll help your mood. Come back soon, and I'll have the maid prepare some of your favorite dishes. I nodded, but the moment I brushed past him, I shot him a cold look. Wendell, an eye for an eye. Since you like faking your death so much, then take this gift I've prepared for you, and cherish it. At this point, I didn't doubt that Wendell had loved me, and maybe he still did. After all, 6 years wasn't something that could easily be faked. His eyes didn't lie, nor did the kindness he once showed me. But that didn't change the fact that he sought thrills and excitement with another woman, whispered sweet words in her ear, and exerted himself on her bed. He even faked his death to avoid marrying me, just to spend 6 months with that woman. I didn't care how they met or how they got together. The outcome was the same, and the process no longer mattered. An hour later, I was on the plane my brother had sent for me, resting with my eyes closed, completely unaware of the chaos unfolding at the Fleming household. After Aileen left to clear her mind, Wendell and Ivy, alone in the house, became more brazen. As they were indulging in their passionate affair in the bedroom, one of the few trusted confidants who knew the truth about Wendell's faked death frantically knocked on the door. The interruption irritated Wendell. He grabbed a pillow and angrily hurled it at the door. Get lost. But the knocking didn't stop, and only grew more urgent. Wendell ruffled his hair and pulled open the bedroom door. You better have something important to say. When he saw it was his secretary, Jerry, Wendell's pupils constricted, and his voice lowered instinctively. What are you doing here? In Eileen's eyes, you're my brother's secretary. How could you come to my house? Are you crazy? Before Wendell could finish speaking, Jerry interrupted him, his voice trembling. Madam boarded the private plane, which had severe malfunctions. Just now, the plane crashed and fell into the sea. Wendell froze, unable to believe what he had just heard. Jerry's face turned pale, and his voice trembled. The rescue teams are already searching the sea, but... Before he could finish, Wendell's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed on the spot. From the moment he woke up, Wendell refused to leave the coastline. Day and night, he stood there, watching the rescue teams comb the ocean. The search lasted 3 whole days, but there was no sign of her. Wendell's face was deathly pale. For those 3 days, he had neither eaten nor drunk, his body pushed to the brink of exhaustion. In truth, the golden 48-hour window for rescue had long passed. Everyone knew what that meant. Even the seasoned rescue team couldn't help but feel sympathy as they looked at him. I heard the one missing is his sister-in-law, one whispered. And she was pregnant, too. But from how he's acting, you'd think it was his wife who went missing. One of the rescuers stepped forward cautiously. Mr. Fleming, we've done everything we can, but there's no sign of your sister-in-law. The survival rate for an ocean crash like this is close to 0. Continuing the search is meaningless. We're so sorry for your loss, but... Before the man could finish, Wendell lunged forward, grabbing him by the collar like a madman. Shut up. Who the hell do you think you are? My wife hasn't been found. How can you say it's meaningless? Sorry for my loss? What Joss? How dare you curse her like that? I'll kill you, I swear I'll kill you. Everyone was shocked by Wendell's sudden outburst. They didn't even notice that he had called his sister-in-law his wife. Several people rushed forward to restrain him. But at that moment, Wendell suddenly stiffened, then collapsed to his knees, coughing up a mouthful of blood. The people around him were horrified, rushing to support him. But Wendell swatted their hands away, stumbling toward the sea, while muttering to himself. Aileen, don't be scared. I'm coming to be with you. As expected, he was pulled back to safety. When he woke up in the hospital, the first thing he saw was Ivy, sobbing by his bedside. But Wendell's eyes were hollow, completely lifeless, as though his soul had been torn from his body. Why did you save me? He murmured. Why couldn't you just let me die? I'm the one who should have died. At his words, Ivy's head snapped up. She cried harder, pounding his chest with her fists. How could you say that? You promised to stay with me for the time I have left. If you die, what am I supposed to do? I'm telling you, Wendell Fleming, if you die, I won't live either. At last, Wendell's eyes regained some focus. He turned slowly toward Ivy, still sobbing beside him. He knew Ivy loved him. During the 4 years he loved Aileen in college, Ivy had loved him just as much. Ivy had been an overseas exchange student during college, but after falling for Wendell, she chose to stay in New Jersey when the program ended. Though Wendell never really paid attention to her and never let Aileen know about her existence, Ivy's love for him was persistent and obsessive. Even after graduation, Ivy managed to find an opportunity to enter Fleming's corporation as a translator. Over a year ago, Ivy finally snapped from her love, walking into Wendell's office and stripping off her clothes with a determined look. "I know you love Aileen. I won't interfere with your relationship and I'll never let her know I exist," she said. "I only ask for one thing. Give me a chance to be with you." At that time, Wendell lost control and for the first time tasted the thrill and wildness of an African woman. He had thought life would continue peacefully, playing the role of a good husband in front of Aileen while enjoying the pleasures of infidelity. But just 1 month before his wedding, Ivy was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, with only 6 months to live. Ivy pleaded with him, asking only for him to stay by her side for the last 6 months of her life. Thus, he began the absurd plan of faking his death at the wedding. Wendell knew well how deep Ivy's feelings for him ran. Seeing the resolute expression on Ivy's face now, just like when she first walked into his office, moved him somewhat. "Stop saying such foolish things," he finally said. When Wendell responded, Ivy couldn't hold back any longer and broke into sobs. After waking up, Wendell couldn't wait to leave the hospital. Unable to persuade him, Jerry brought him home. The moment he entered Eileen's bedroom and saw the large wedding photo hanging beside the bed, Wendell couldn't hold back any longer. Tears finally fell, tears he had held back the entire time. He couldn't forgive himself. Every time he thought of Aileen in danger while he was fooling around with Ivy, he wished he could kill himself. Aileen had always been afraid of water, and to top it all, she was pregnant. How terrified must she have been when the plane crashed? The thought felt like a rusty saw tearing at his heart, the pain so intense he could hardly breathe. His gaze fixed on the bed in the master bedroom, every item carefully chosen by Aileen, every corner thoughtfully arranged by her. In a frenzy, he tore the sheets off the bed, throwing pillows and blankets to the floor. "I'm a beast. I'm lower than an animal. I should die. It's all my fault." Startled by his outburst, Jerry rushed forward to stop him. "Mr. Fleming, it's not like that. It wasn't your fault. Madam, she chose to end her life. She deliberately got on that faulty plane." In the chaos, the nightstand was knocked over, and a drawer with a letter fell to the floor. Though Wendell didn't know what was inside, a chill crept over him. He fell to the ground, weak in his legs, and crawled toward the letter. His hands trembled as he opened it, shaking more violently with every word he read. The letter wasn't long, but the final sentence pierced Wendell's heart deeply. "Wendell, I miss you so much. I can't live without you. Wait for me. I'll reunite with you, and the baby soon." Every word expressed Eileen's longing and dependence on him. It was his fault. It was all because of him. Because he faked his death to escape marriage, Aileen had chosen to follow him, even to the point of sacrificing her own life. The pain surged again, stronger and fiercer than before, invading every inch of his body. He clutched his chest and collapsed, gasping for air. In a flash, Wendell suddenly remembered how something had seemed off about Aileen in the past few days. Having been together for 6 years, Wendell knew Aileen better than anyone. While she had never fully accepted his death, she had been holding on for the sake of their child. What exactly happened that made her board the malfunctioning plane after leaving a suicide note? With that thought, Wendell suddenly looked at his secretary. "Investigate everything. Find out what happened during this time. I want everything laid out clearly, every detail." Jerry had just left when Ivy entered the bedroom. "Wendell, don't be too sad.
You still have me.
I'll always be by your side." Before she could finish, Wendell grabbed her chin, forcing her words back down her throat. "It's all because of you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have faked my death to deceive Aileen, and she wouldn't have fallen into despair and tried to end her life. It's all your fault. It was only supposed to be 6 months. 6 months, and everything would have returned to normal. Aileen, why couldn't you just wait for me?" Before he could say more, Wendell passed out. When he woke, it was already dark. Ivy was still by his side, her eyes swollen from crying. "Wendell, you're awake? You fainted this afternoon, and really scared me." Just then, Jerry barged in holding several documents. Mr. Fleming, we found something. Wendell snatched the papers from Jerry's hands, his gaze fixed on the few words written on them. Consent form for abortion. Madam went to a different hospital for the abortion after her prenatal checkup that day. We pulled the surveillance footage from the hospital. Before entering the operating room, Madam received a video from Miss Ivy. This is the footage, Mr. Fleming. Please watch it yourself. Jerry handed over his phone as he spoke. The video showed a long hospital corridor. Aileen sat alone on a bench, staring at her phone, crying harder and harder, her whole body trembling. After a nurse approached, Eileen's tear-streaked, pale face filled with fear. She seemed to make a phone call. After hanging up, she followed the nurse into the operating room, hopelessness etched on her face. As the video played, Wendell suddenly realized that phone call was for him. Eileen's voice had been trembling, but he had been so consumed by Ivy's seduction that he hadn't even noticed. Furious, he sprang to his feet and started kicking Ivy hard. So it's like this, Ivy? So it's really like this. Jerry glanced at Ivy and handed Wendell the papers again. We also retrieved Miss Ivy's medical records. The records show that Miss Ivy is in perfect health, with no signs of tumors or abnormalities. Hearing this, Ivy trembled uncontrollably. Wendell's gaze burned into her with hatred. Ivy, how dare you? How dare you? With the evidence laid bare, Ivy knew she had no defense. She collapsed to her knees, clinging to Wendell's leg, begging desperately. Wendell, please listen to me. I didn't mean to. I'm just so in love with you. I wanted you to notice me, just once more. I was afraid that once you married her, I'd have no place in your life anymore. I know you love her, but I love you too, Wendell. I was just so scared of losing you, but I swear I never meant to hurt her or your child. Please, Wendell, forgive me. Please. But Wendell couldn't bear to listen anymore. He kicked her away with all his might. Shut up. If you didn't mean it, why would you send her that video? If you didn't mean it, why would you fake a medical history to deceive me? Ivy, everything you've done was to drive Aileen away, to take her place as Mrs. Fleming, wasn't it? Now you're scared? What about my Aileen? When the plane crashed, how terrified must she have been? Ivy cried, shaking her head desperately, unable to form a single coherent sentence. Wendell turned to the secretary, his voice cold. Call them now. Hurry up. Ivy seemed to realize what was coming. In a panic, she began banging her head repeatedly on the ground until blood started dripping from her forehead. About 10 minutes later, several men in suits and sunglasses entered the room. Ivy collapsed to the floor, scooting backward, her voice trembling with terror. Wendell, what are you going to do? You can't do this to me. I didn't do anything. Eileen's death has nothing to do with me. You can't hurt me like this. But Wendell acted as if he didn't hear her. His voice remained icy. Take her to the basement. Let her experience your methods firsthand. Make her feel what life worse than death is like. You are more professional than I am. Ivy screamed as she was dragged out of the room, but Wendell remained unmoved, cold and silent, as if deaf to her cries. Wendell, you devil. Animal. What were you doing when you cheated? What were you doing when you faked your death to deceive her? I'll tell you. Aileen knew the truth a long time ago. She had an abortion before she left. She never intended to forgive you. I'll tell you this now. She killed herself as revenge. Revenge for your fake death and lies. You're the real murderer. Your betrayal and deception trigger her death. Ivy was dragged away, and silence fell over the room. Wendell remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the abortion consent form. After a long moment, he suddenly burst into hysterical laughter and tears. Yes, Ivy's right. Aileen knew the truth a long time ago. She did it on purpose. She did it on purpose. Then she must still be alive. Aileen must still be alive. Aileen had always been proud. Even though she had fallen into despair after his death, once she knew the truth, she wouldn't have killed herself over a man who betrayed her. He knew Aileen better than anyone, just like she knew him. She knew that if she used the same methods of revenge on him, it would make him suffer more than death, and that's why she came up with this plan. She had an abortion, then deliberately left behind a suicide note and faked a plane crash to make it seem like she died. He suddenly raised his head, tears glistening in his eyes as he shouted at the secretary. Book a flight. Quickly, book a flight for me. Back in the quiet peace of another country, I knew nothing of the chaos unfolding back home. Right now, I was simply sitting with my brother, debating what to eat the next day. Ever since he learned the truth about me and Wendell, he'd taken a long leave from work just to stay by my side. Every day, we either planned meals or outings, anything to lift the mood. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. When it opened, a familiar figure immediately knelt down. "Aileen, I've come to take you home." Before I could react, my brother's fist landed hard on Wendell's face. "You bastard. How dare you show your face here? Do you remember how you swore to me you'd protect her? This is how you take care of my sister?" Wendell, once so proud and unshakable, didn't resist. He took every blow without a word of defense, only continuously apologizing. I'm sorry. I'm an animal. It's my fault. Brother, please, I beg you. Let me see Aileen. Let me speak to her for just a moment." Hearing Wendell's words, my brother hit him even harder. "Don't call me brother. I'm not your brother." I grabbed my brother's arm, stopping him before he could strike again. Wendell's face was already bleeding. If this kept up, he might not survive. "Leave. I have nothing to say to you," I said coldly. As soon as my brother released him, Wendell straightened and knelt before me. "I'm not leaving. I've come to take you home, Aileen. You're my wife. If you leave, we leave together." My brother's anger flared again, ready to strike, but I shook my head and looked at Wendell kneeling before me. "Have you forgotten? Because you faked your death to escape marriage, we never had a wedding, and we never registered it. Legally, I'm single. We're not married." Wendell stayed kneeling, his expression unwavering. I sighed, tears spilling down my cheeks. "Wendell, do you remember what I said the day I agreed to be with you?" My tears fell on his hand, and he froze as if burned. I wiped my face gently and smiled sadly. "That day, I told you, Wendell, if you ever fall in love with someone else, it's okay. I only had one request. Don't lie to me. Be honest, and I won't bother you. I will walk away on my own. But you broke your promise. You fell in love with someone else, and you lied to me. So I walked away." Wendell's tense shoulders slowly slumped. "That's not true, Aileen. I didn't love anyone else. I love you. Only you. It was her who seduced me." His voice softened, but I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped me. "Is that so? Maybe you do love me. But that doesn't change the fact you had an affair, left me at the wedding, and staged that huge act to avoid marrying me. She seduced you, and you just had to fall for it? Still making excuses, Wendell? Don't disgust me further." Wendell's bloodshot eyes fell silent for a long moment before he whispered, "I'm sorry." I scoffed. "Sorry? If you really feel sorry, then leave. Go far away and never disturb my life again. Never show your face in front of me. Wendell, I will never forgive you." I slammed the door shut, saying no more. I didn't know when he left, but the next day when I opened the door, no one was there. For the next 6 months, I lived with my brother, as if we had returned to the childhood days when we depended on each other. Wendell honored my wish. He never disturbed my life. Then one evening, while my brother and I lounged on the balcony couch, watching the night sky, he hesitated before speaking quietly. "Someone contacted me from back home. They said Wendell is dead. He committed suicide from depression. They found a skeleton in the basement of his villa. After identification, it was confirmed to be Ivy's. They said Wendell developed severe depression after coming back and needed constant care. Yesterday, when his mother went downstairs for water, he jumped from the building." I lightly traced the rim of my wine glass, unsure what to say. Suddenly, tears fell into the glass, creating ripples on the surface. My brother broke the silence again. "His funeral is the day after tomorrow. Do you want to go back?" I shook my head gently. What would I go back for? What identity would I have to return to? There was no need. "Aileen, do you still hate him?" The question froze me. After a long pause, I wiped a tear from my eye and drank the wine in one gulp. Before I heard this news, yes, I hated him. But now, with his death, everything from the past felt erased. Falling petals no longer cling to the branch. You and I shall never meet again. Wendell, farewell.